Hey everyone! So Surging Sparks is coming out very soon in just a few weeks from time of recording. And there is a lot of good cards in this set that I think we'll see play in GLC. Definitely some fun ones as well, but what I want to do today is look at the top 5 cards in no particular order that I think will definitely see their way into some GLC decks in the future. So with that said, let's just jump right into it. Our first card we've got here is Skelly Dirge. So Skelly Dirge is a stage 2 with 180 HP. It's got the Unaware ability, prevents all effects of attacks from your opponent's Pokemon done to this Pokemon. So if you're familiar with Unfazed Fat Snorlax, that's basically exactly what this ability is. Will stop damage counters being placed on it, poison, confusion, sleep, all kinds of different effects, again, of attacks, can prevent it from special energies being discarded from it as well. Pretty good ability, not an amazing ability. Honestly, it's kind of funny. It's one of those things that I think people think is a lot better than it actually is in practice. But still, very good ability to have, does help in a lot of different situations. But what I think makes it really good here is its attack. So you've got, for a fire and a colorless, it does 60 damage plus 20 more for each benched Pokemon, both yours and your opponent. So with full benches, that's 200 damage from the bench Pokemon, plus 60 from the base damage from this thing, 260 damage you can possibly do with it. Obviously in GLC, you're KOing everything in format, pretty much. You will occasionally get something that's buffed up, like Wailord, can potentially survive this attack with various effects that can be in play. But even a Wailord with Pot Helmet on, plus their ability active, will still get KO'd as long as both your bench and your opponent's bench is full. That's probably not going to happen all of the time, but again, you can still have very big damage potential with this Pokemon for very little energy requirements. Just those 2 energy total, I think, makes this a fantastic Pokemon. We'll almost certainly see in some fire decks. Only thing that holds it back is the fact that it is a stage 2. Otherwise, absolutely amazing card. Next up, we've got Gouging Fire. This is another card that I think will definitely see its way into various fighting decks. Might even see some decks run Entei, the one that's got pressure that reduces the damage that it takes. I think this might be a good replacement for that. Or if you're just really looking for another good basic attacker in your fire deck, this could be a really good option. First attack, you can just ignore that one because it's really the second one that we care about here. It's for 2 fire and a colorless, does blazing support, 100 damage plus 70 more if your opponent has 4 or fewer prize cards remaining. So for 3 energies, in basically the back part of the game, it's going to be doing 170 damage. 170 damage is enough to KO just about everything in format that isn't got some kind of HP boosting effect in play. So you're knocking out those Unfazed Fat Snorlaxes, and a lot of other really big Pokemon. You can buff that damage up even further a little bit if you want to with a Muscle Band, though you won't need to in most situations. But this could be a very good Pokemon to put down early on, and then just save it for when you need it after your opponent's taken a couple prize cards. If they wanted taking this thing out early because they're worried about it for later, well, that's, keeping some of your other Pokemon safe as well. Only downside, this guy does have 130 HP, so not the most amount of HP, but that 4 prize cards or fewer does hurt it a little bit. Kind of obviously can't use it to start off the game, which is one of the places that big basics can, or powerful basics can come into play. Though powerful basics that are relatively easy to power up can definitely be a very good option for later on in the game. You can always buff this with something like a Bravery Charm or a Luxurious Cape to give it some more HP as well, so it can likely survive an attack, maybe get you 2 KOs before it's eventually taken down. Then next up we've got Titan, and this is another very bulky Stage 1 Pokemon for water, as if they needed more bulky Stage 1 Pokemon. Wailord, I guess, wasn't enough for them. So this is a 180 HP Stage 1 with Sturdy Body. This Pokemon takes 30 less damage from attacks, really is identical to Wailord, just has 20 less HP than Wailord, but it still has very high effective HP, 210, which makes it, again, a very tanky Pokemon. It's going to be very difficult for a lot of decks to consistently KO. And then it's got a pretty powerful attack as well. For a water and 3 colorless, it does Dangerous Mouth for 150 damage. Obviously a significantly less powerful attack than Wailord, but you don't need a special energy, and 150 is still knocking out most things that aren't buffed with HP buffing abilities. That attack requirement is really not that difficult for water to meet. You're obviously already accelerating things into play with Excalibur, Frostmoth, so hitting that is not that big a deal. And this thing is likely sticking around for at least 2 attacks, if not more, depending on, how the game is going for you. Almost certainly, again, another very tanky Pokemon we're going to probably see slotted into water decks. Give them a good backup for their Wailord if that does get KO'd. This thing can just come up afterwards, and now your opponent has a lot less options to be able to actually deal with you because they've already used a lot of things to take out your Wailord. Then next up, we've got Magneton. So this is a card that contributed to Amazing Rare Raikou getting banned. If you read this ability here, we've got Overbolt Discharge. Once during your turn, you may attach up to 3 basic energy cards from your discard pile to your Lightning Pokemon in any way you like. If you do use this ability, it does KO the Pokemon. That means your opponent does take a prize card. So it does have a big downside there. But being able to attach 3 basic energies of any type to your Pokemon, not only gives you a lot of different options, if you do have lightning attackers that are using more than lightning, then this gives you the ability to power that up a little bit easier. You can definitely see how this contributed to Amazing Rare Raikou being banned. This could by itself completely power up that Amazing Rare Raikou and then just allow you to start zapping away at your opponent as early as turn 2 for you. It could just be an absolutely insane combo, so it makes sense why they would ban that. But again, even still, I do think this is a card that we're going to see in Lightning decks. I actually think it's really good in Lightning spread decks in particular. You can be using this to power up your Pokemon, giving your opponent a prize early on. Usually with spread decks, you're not taking prizes early. You often want to play from behind as you're setting up damage counters, eventually taking 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 prize cards all at once. This allows you to let your opponent get ahead, activates your counter catchers, makes your ends and your Ionos a little bit stronger. All of your play from behind cards, again, get a little bit better once you have used this Pokemon to, again, power up your Pokemon. And then finally, for the 5 that I'm going to showcase here, we've got Eternatus. So this is another good Dragon Pokemon. Dragon has been seeing a lot of good support lately, and this is continuing that trend. So this is a 150 HP basic, good amount of HP for a basic Pokemon, nothing to be unhappy about there. This first attack, pretty irrelevant for GLC. Your opponent's not going to have any active EX Pokemon, so we don't really care about that one. It's the second attack that I think makes this a Pokemon we're definitely going to see slotted into at least some Dragon decks. It does have kind of a difficult energy requirement with Fire and 2 Dark energy, but then it does 230 damage, discard a Stadium in play. If you can't, this attack does nothing. 230 damage, obviously a crazy amount of damage. You are even KOing Wailords with this as long as they don't have something like a Pot Helmet or something else buffing their HP. Already a very powerful attack, going to be able to KO just about everything in format. Dragon is already playing a lot of Rainbow energies and Multicolor energies, obviously have Double Dragon energy, so it's not too difficult to power this up. One downside with this attack is Dragon doesn't typically play basic Dark energy currently in a lot of different builds, since it's not needed for a lot of the typical attackers you see in Dragon, like Garchomp and Drampa, which typically more need like water and fire, fighting, and those types of things. Dark does make it a little bit awkward, but I do think the payoff for this is probably worth it. Dragon, again, is already playing a decent amount of stadiums. Other decks play a lot of stadiums, so that requirement I don't think will be that difficult to meet. If you are really worried about it, you could always put something like, of course, this Tenacity in your deck to help you find stadiums, or Stadium Nav to help you find stadiums, again, if you really want to make sure that you're being able to get this attack off a little bit more than just the one time before it goes down. But again, with a decent amount of HP and crazy powerful attack, definitely think we're going to see this be slotted into Dragon decks. I actually think it might be a better version of Haxorus. Haxorus, I think, is another Dragon-type Pokemon that does have a lot of potential in Dragon decks, but at least in my experience so far, it's been a little awkward to actually play. Dragon already has to run Dragonite and Garchomp pretty much in every single build. That Gabite is just too good. Sonic Slip is just too good. Dragonite's ability to be able to find support every turn is just too good. So I feel like Haxorus being another stage 2 makes it very clunky a lot of the times. whereas Eternatus can do a similar amount of damage while being just a basic. So again, I think might just be something that can really free up those 3 slots that Haxorus would take up. Put this guy in there instead, and then you got 2 slots for something else, which could be Coleridge's Tenacity or Stadium Nav to help you find those stadiums a little bit more consistently. So yeah, get another very powerful Pokemon that I think we'll definitely see play in Dragon decks. All right, and that's our list. We're just looking at, again, 5 cards that I think almost certainly will see their way worked into various GLC decks. Probably gonna have a longer video looking at some additional cards that I think will maybe see some more niche play in GLC, or could be fun to play in GLC, or even just some more powerful cards that I think will see their ways in the decks, but I didn't think were quite as good as some of the ones that I showcased here. Honestly, Surging Sparks is looking like a great set for GLC. I think there's a lot of things coming out that will help a lot of different types. Really looking forward to this set. If you think there's some other cards that should have been showcased here, please make sure you mention it down in the comments below. Otherwise, if you did like the content, make sure you give it a like and subscribe. Do lots of GLC content here, especially lots of gameplay. That said, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.